Yudalid Amid Aleph by the Mishnah Masachim Ben Asar. Of we're learning to have the base of Migdash. For Shleima. Yechiel Nasim Ben Sarah. You see that? You see the Mishnah Masachim Ben Asar? 14a. Okay. So the Mishnah starts off, Mesachim Ben Asar. You could use boards for schach. We think we're dealing with boards that are 4 tvachim. We'll see exactly. But we're talking about boards, let's say, like plywood. You put plywood up there for schach. So the Rabbi Yehuda says, yeah, Mesachim Ben Asar. Rabbi Meir says, no, it's not good. No, Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir are students of Rabbi Akiva, from the 5 remaining students. And they have this interesting machlekes about the boards. If you do put up a board that's 4 tvachim wide, it's kosher, but don't sleep under it. That's like it's kosher, but you can't eat it. It doesn't actually mean that it's kosher. It means the sukkah is kosher. But that area of the sukkah, when it says kshera, it's referring to the sukkah. It's not referring to the board. Obviously, the board has an issue because it's saying you can't sleep under it. What it means is you didn't spoil your sukkah yet. And why not? We'll see. It's talking about it's on the side of the sukkah where we have a daif and akuma.
Yes, it's not validating the sukkah.
It's not. Oh, ma'akiv. It doesn't in there. Yeah, the other word that we had for ma'akiv was it's not negligible. It's yeah, we had another word for it. Okay, Amar Rav. We're now going to have a machlekes Rav and Shmuel. What the machlekes Rav Meir and Rav Yehuda is, because the first generation Amirayim usually come in and discuss what the mission is. So here, that starts right away. Amarav machlekes ben Asarim sheish ben marba. Rav says that there's machlekes.
Basically doing these pieces of wood. That's what the selling. Everything is like maybe the scraps,
Scraps. Over here it means a board.
No,
it could, right?
It's not like loose pieces, and it can be size. It's not thin necessarily. It's the Hebrew Aramaic self and the Sama in exchange for the sin. No saw left over scraps.
Yeah.
Okay.
Machlekes ben Asarim sheish ben marba. Rav says that the machlekes Rav Meir and Rabbi Yehuda are talking is about boards that are 4 tvachim. Rabbi Meir slug zeir stikra, Rabbi Yehuda slug zeir stikra. Rabbi Meir says, you know what? Boards that are 4 tvachim, that's exactly what people use when they make a house. We have a concern that someone's going to say, why should I sit in my sukkah? Why should I sit in my sukkah? I'll go back to the house. It's the same thing. I have boards up there, boards here. It's the same thing. Why? What's the difference? It's like, why should I light the Shabbos candles? I have the lights, whatever. Why do I, blech for this? I mean, there's concerns about everything. So here, there's a concern that he's not going to notice that there's really a difference between a sukkah and a house. The Zera sticker. Okay, Rabbi Yehuda like Zera sticker. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't have that concern. There's no problem with boards. It grows from the ground. It's not a keli. Just the problem is someone going to think it's like his house? Rabbi Yehuda says no. Aval ben Asarim she'ein be'am arba. But let's say the boards are less than 4 tvachim. So then, Divrei Kol Ksher, everyone says you have no problem. This is not a house, and it's not a keli. It's not. There's no problem. Even Rav Meir, that's so strict, would say that it's kosher. That's the opinion of Rav. Shmuel Amar, good morning. Shmuel Amar b'sheim be'marba machlekes. Shmuel is more strict. Shmuel says that the machlekes is when you don't have 4 tvachim in the boards. But if the boards are 4 tvachim, Divrei Kol Psula. Everyone says it's puzzle, which means everyone holds of Gzeirus Tikra. Why is Reb Meir even more strict? We'll see in a minute. But if they don't have 4 Tvachim, the Gemara asks us a question. But if it's less than 3, in other words, that's the machlekes. Reb Meir is more strict. If it's less than 3, how small is less than 4? Well, it can go down until 1 or 0. So Reb Meir says, everyone agrees that it's possible. Everyone agrees, Reb Meir and Rabbi agree that it's possible more than 4. Less than 4, Reb Meir says, is also possible. How small? How much less than 4? So if it's even less than 3, then what do you have? Regular sticks. Less than 3 tvachim. It's a regular stick, and that's regular stuff. Rav Papa explains Hachikamer. Yesh be'marba divrei kol psula. This is what he means. If it's 4 tvachim, Reb Meir and Rabbi Yehuda say that the sukkah is puzzle. Pachas mishleisha, the boards are puzzle. Pachas mishleisha, if it's less than 3, divrei kol kshera. Everyone agrees that it's kosher. My timer, kind of balmanino. Even the boards. Even the boards are kosher. My timer, kind of balmanino. It's regular sticks. It's regular schach. Keep pleading mishleisha. The machlekes is between 3 and 4. Mar savar. This master holds. Given the last new shir makam legoshina. That's Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, what's 3 tvachim? I know there's a problem of Gzeirus Tikra. I agree that more than 4 tvachim boards on your sukkah looks like a house, and someone's going to say, I consider my house. Why should I go to the sukkah? But under 4 tvachim is insignificant. It's not a board. It's nothing. It's not a makam chashav. It's not a significant. Mar savar, or the mayor says, given the nafkalam mitar slavat gosrina. The mayor says, look, it's not less than 3 tvachim. Less than 3 tvachim is considered solid. The fact is that if you wouldn't put this up, you would have open space in the sukkah. So you did put it up.
What do you mean less than 3 tvachim?
Any gap that's less than 3 tvachim, you say, look, as if it's solid, as if it's steel. And you put posts for your sukkah every within 2.9 tvachim, and it's considered like you have a full wall. And the same in the schach. If you're missing schach, well, it actually also means more. It's more schach. Right. Okay. So Rashi adds in a point over here, an interesting point. Rashi adds in that Reb Meir is chayash l'miyuta. Reb Meir suspects to the minority. That's a rule that Reb Meir has. Reb Meir, just because usually we say, oh, the majority is. Reb Meir says, yeah, but what about the minority? There's this rule that's Reb Meir throughout Shas. Reb Meir chayash l'miyuta. So usually people use boards that are 4 tvachim for roofing. Comes along Reb Meir and says, usually they do, but there are those that use 3 boards, 3 amas, 3 tvachim. Boards for roofing. And Reb Meir's chayash l'miyuta. So he says this is also a problem, and it's already a significant size. So Reb Yehuda is not chayash l'miyuta, and he says, what are you worried about? It's not a concern. So we have 2 ways of understanding the machlekes. Reb Meir and Rabbi Yehuda. Rav says that Rabbi Yehuda is always lenient. Even if it's 4 tvachim boards, Rabbi Yehuda says it's kosher. Shmuel says that Reb Meir and Rabbi Yehuda would both agree if it's 4 tvachim that it's possible. And they both agree that under 3 tvachim is kosher. The machlekes is in between 3 and 4. Yeah, the shin on Shmuel has 3 prongs, and so Shmuel is 3 and between 3 and 4. Make you remember. You follow? Okay. The Gemara goes back to examine which approach is more accurate when reading the Mishnah. So it says Tanan. We went in the Mishnah. The Mishnah said if you put the board on the sukkah is kosher, but you can't sleep under the board, which means the board is possible. Sukkah is kosher, board is possible. It says like this. According to Shmuel, they're arguing about a board that's under 3 tvachim, but over 4 tvachim. I'm sorry, that's under 4 tvachim, within 3 and 4. That's the machlekes. But over 4 tvachim, everyone agrees that it's possible. So according to Shmuel, then that's why the Mishnah says unanimously that don't sleep under it. Why? Because it's 4 tvachim. And Rabbi Yehuda agrees more than 4 tvachim is possible. But according to Rav, that says once it's 4 tvachim, even when it's 4 tvachim, Rabbi Yehuda says that it's kosher. And it's only Reb Meir that says that it's possible. But if it's if you don't have fire, this is not really necessary for this. But if there's no 4 tvachim, everyone agrees that it's kosher. Even Reb Meir, the Rabbi Yehuda Marlish and Tachta. What did you tell me in the Mishnah? The board has 4 tvachim, so that's a machlekes Reb Meir and Rabbi Yehuda if it's kosher. So it says don't sleep under it. Why shouldn't you sleep under it? According to Reb Meir, granted, it's possible. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's fine. Because Rav says that that's the machlekes more than 4 tvachim. So the Gemara answers, "Mi sabris divrei akali." You think that part of the Mishnah is unanimous? Seifa Samler Rab Meir. If you read the Mishnah, it starts off, "Sicha b'nesarim." You're allowed to use boards. That's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Rab Meir says that you're not allowed to. If you use a board that's 4 tvachim, don't sleep under it. Is a continuation from Rab Meir saying you're not allowed to. Rabbi Yehuda would say that you are allowed to. What comes out is that we have a machlekes Rav and Shmuel pshat in the Mishnah, where Rav learns that the second part of the Mishnah, Nasan al Neser, is only the opinion of Reb Meir, and Shmuel learns the second part of the Mishnah that it's everyone's opinion, because everyone holds more than 4 tvachim is possible. So, right? Tashema, come and listen. Shnei sadinim mitzdarfen. You're not allowed to use sheets for schach. But how much schach puzzle would ruin your sukkah? So we know that 4 tvachim of schach puzzle is not good. Let's say you have 2 sheets. One is 2 tvachim, another one is 2 tvachim. You put them together on the sukkah. You now have 4 tvachim of schach puzzle. Shnei nesarim, but if you have 2 boards, one is 2 tvachim and one is 2 tvachim. Ein mitzdarfen, doesn't combine. Why not? Because they're kosher. 2 tvachim is kosher. Let's say it's 3 tvachim and 3 tvachim. So it also doesn't combine. That's what we're learning, because each board is 3 tvachim is accepted. Well, not necessarily. Reb Meir would say that it's not good. So Reb Meir says it's the same problem. Must be we're talking about boards of 3 tvachim now. Otherwise, I don't understand this. Let's say we would say it's talking about boards of 4 tvachim. So then I would have a problem. What are you telling me, mitzdarfen? It's puzzle even when you have 1. I need to get a shear of 4 tvachim to make my sukkah puzzle. Remember, 4 tvachim on my sukkah is the limit. Up to 4 tvachim is the limit of schach puzzle. The limit of invalid schach. So if the board is 4 tvachim, and 4 tvachim is puzzle, so then it's I don't need mitzdaref. I don't need another board to make it puzzle. It's already. Yes, you're jumping ahead. I was avoiding that. Doesn't matter where it is. And the Gemara is going to get to that in the answer. The Gemara says like this: Bishlei Malishmuel. No, you're thinking. Bishlei Malishmuel works out well according to Shmuel. Shmuel says machlekes is by in between 3 and 4. Remember, Shmuel, he said the shin is 3. He holds that the machlekes Reb Meir and Rabbi Yehuda is in between 3 and 4. According to Shmuel, the machlekes is under 4 tvachim. But once it's 4 tvachim, everyone says it's puzzle. My mitzdarfen. So what are you telling me that 2 boards combine to ruin the sukkah? Mitzdarfen larba. 3 plus 3 equals 4. No, well, 3 plus 3 is going to include the prohibition of 4. Okay.
What about 3 plus 1?
Yeah, but 1 is kosher.
But 3 plus 1 would be
no. But if you're a puzzle schach plus kosher schach doesn't make it all puzzle. Oh, it's not like a treif over here. Oh, you touched it. It needs to both be puzzle, and then we're gonna cover. You see, the problem, the confusion here is that there's 2 measurements that we're dealing with. There's 2. One is the board being puzzle. The other one is the sukkah being puzzle. The board being puzzle could be at 3 tvachim. The sukkah being puzzle is at 4 tvachim. So 2 boards of 3 tvachim would cover the 4 tvachim limit, would pass the 4 tvachim limit of that my sukkah allows. Okay. I have some kosher schach, and I also have puzzle schach. And that puzzle schach makes my sukkah puzzle.
So,
Because of the sun, because it's 4 tvachim.
oh, then you don't have a sukkah. Makes my well in the top of the giant sukkah. How many are there?
I'm not sure. He's asking about Shabbos. Good. Okay. So, Ella L'Rav, it's not going to work according to Rav. The Gemara is going to ask a question. L'Rav, no one says that it's possible unless it's 4 tvachim. Even Reb Meir, that's so strict, only says the schach, the boards are possible at a size of 4 tvachim. But if it's under 4, everyone says it's kosher. So what are you talking about? If there's 4 tvachim, then then what are you telling me they combine? If you don't have 4 tvachim, amai. So why are you telling me they combine? But they're just sticks. It's kosher. Kosher schach doesn't add up to puzzle schach. So li'olam, the Gemara answers according to Rav, we can fit this as well. Li'olam disbuarba, really, it's a 4 tefach board. Okay, that's a problem. So what are you telling me it combines? Puzzle before it combined. My mitzdarfen, what does it mean it combines? So Naftali, mitzdarfen l'arba minatzad. Combines on the side of the sukkah. I can make the walls arch. It can up to 4 amas. So because of the bent wall, doifen akuma. So as long as up to 4 amas, I can say that the wall continues horizontally until the schach. So therefore, the center of my sukkah will still be kosher. The center of my sukkah will be kosher. I can't sit under the bent wall, right? I can't sit under that area, but my sukkah is not possible. Where does the sukkah become possible with 4 tvachim? In the center of the sukkah. Yeah, we're going to learn later. We're going to learn that if I have a 3-walled sukkah, let's say 3 walls, right? And then I have tzach puzzle going down the center of 4 tvachim, then it's going to divide the this wall with the bottom wall, with the back wall. It's going to divide it and separate it from this side. So therefore, I'll have 2 sukkahs, each one of two walls, without a 3rd wall or a 4th wall. Going to be possible. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about 4 tvachim ruins a sukkah. It's talking about when it divides it in half. It's 4 tvachim by the length of the sukkah. That's what we're going to learn later. At least that's the way Taisus is going to learn. There's other ways of learning it. That it could be it's talking about a sukkah that's only 7 by 7 tvachim, and if you have 4 tvachim of stock puzzle, you don't have a shear left. There's other ways of looking at this. Okay. Now the Gemara does this the other way. It's a little odd the way the Gemara is doing it. It's sort of like taking the answer and flipping the whole Gemara around. Listen, Achrina, there's another version. This line of Shmuel, exactly the way we said before. According to Shmuel, not exactly, you'll see. This subject of combining 2 boards to make it puzzle, it works out fine. The Amar B'Shem B'Mar B'Machlekes says that the Machlekes between Reb Meir and Reb Yehuda is boards of 3 tvachim. But once it's 4, everyone says it's puzzle. My mitzdarfen. So what does it mean it's mitzdarfen? We were learning that Reb Meir says that it's mitzdarfen, and Reb Yehuda says it's not mitzdarfen. He wants to go for everyone. What does it mean mitzdarfen? In other words, Reb Yehuda also says that boards are puzzle. At which point? At more than 4 tvachim. So what does it mean it's mitzdarfen? Mitzdarfen l'arba b'minatzad combines to 4 amas from the side. Why? Because it's puzzle. Rabbi Yehuda says it's possible once it's more than 4. So if I have 4 tvachim boards, but I have too many of them, how many tvachim would be Dalet Amos? 24 tvachim. If I have 6 of them, then it's going to be a problem, right? 6 plus. It's going to be a problem. Ela Rav, but according to Rav, Rav says that the machlekes is more than 4 tvachim, which means that Rabbi Yehuda says that it's kosher always. It's a piece of wood. It's kosher. I don't care how big it is. Pick a big piece of plywood and put it up. It's kosher. Bishleim Reb Meir, I can understand what it means. It's mitzdaref according to Reb Meir. My mitzdaref from Arba Misminatzad. Yeah, the boards are puzzle. So it will add up to 4 amos. El Rabbi Yehuda Damar Afili Yeshbem Arba Kshera, but Rabbi Yehuda that doesn't give any limit. And he says that boards are always kosher. Maya mitzdaref. And what do you mean it doesn't combine? Of course it doesn't combine. It's schach. It doesn't combine to become puzzle. It's never puzzle. It grows from the ground. It's not makabaltum. It's a regular piece of schach. So the Gemara explains, I did the kamar of Meir mitzdarf and I'm Rabbi Yehuda mitzdarf. Your whole question was based on, why does Rabbi Yehuda say it's not mitzdarf? Which basically means that it's kosher. Why does Rabbi Yehuda say that it's kosher? Well, because he holds it's kosher. But why does he say that it's not combining? The term combining sounds like I have things that are puzzle that don't combine to ruin my sukkah. He said, you're right. He doesn't mean to say it doesn't combine because it's kosher anyway. So even if you combine a lot of kosher food, doesn't make it kosher schach or whatever. A lot of kosher things doesn't make it not kosher. So he says, yeah, you're right. Reb Meir used the term combine, so he says it doesn't combine, but he doesn't mean that. He means that it's kosher. He was just saying in reference to what Reb Meir said. He's saying no, it doesn't.
What about the empty space in between the boards? Is that love would somehow?
How much empty space is not good? So we're going to learn empty space itself is going to be 3 tvachim. Schach puzzle is better than empty space. Yeah, I don't know if there's a lesson in that. Okay. It just reminds me of the kids walking around saying, I'm bored. Oh, that's a problem. Okay, so let me... Okay. Tanya Kavasei the Rav, Tanya Kavasei the Shmuel. We have a brisa that supports Rav. We have a brisa that supports Shmuel, which basically means that they contradict each other. But there's 2 ways of looking at the machlekes, Reb Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, and we have brisas that support each one. Tanya Kavasei the Rav, the brisa that supports Rav. Remember, Rav said that the machlekes is if boards are ever puzzle. Reb Meir says yes. Rabbi Yehuda says no. More than 4 tvachim. Sicha ben Asarim Shaleres. Let's say someone put on boards of cedar wood. Later on, the Gemara is going to try to prove that cedar wood is good for schach. There was an opinion that held that you can only use schach. You can only use the things that are kosher for your lulav or kosher for your schach. There's an opinion later in the Gemara, but it's not accepted. But here we have a brisa that says if you use Asarim Shaleres cedar, that doesn't have 4 tvachim. Everyone says it's kosher. Well, already it proves to Rav. Yishbe Marba, if there is 4 tvachim, Reb Meir Paisor Rabbi the Machshe. Reb Meir says it's possible, Rabbi says it's kosher. Mamish Rav, that's exactly the way Rav explains it. Rabbi Yehuda continues, Maisa B'Sas HaSakana, there was a time of when we were in danger. Shevian Asarim Shayibeh Marba, V'sichachnu al Gabi Merpesas, V'yashavnu Tachteim. Naftali, you told me something like this yesterday. That we took boards and we put it on top of our porch and we sat under it. See, you can use boards. Amar Lai, they told to Rabbi Yehuda, Misham Raya, you're bringing a support from a time of danger. Ain't Sakana Raya. You see, even according to Rabbi Meir, not necessarily is this like puzzle. This is just, you're not allowed to use it. Because if someone may think that it's not like biblically puzzle, it's a rabbinic law that it looks like a roof. Someone may say, why should I sit in my sukkah? I can sit in the house. There's a roof in both of them. So shasa sakana, we can remove sometimes the rabbinic law. The rabbis put these things into place in regular times, not in times of danger. Okay. Tanika v'seidah Shmuel. Support, a brisa that supports Shmuel. Sicha b'nisarm shaleres yesh be'em arba divrei kol psula. If there's boards of cedar wood, 4 tvachim, everyone says that it's possible. It's Shmuel already, right? Rabbi Yehuda agrees that it's possible. Ein be'em arba, if they don't have 4, well, let's explain it that they have 3, in between 3 and 4. Rabbi Meir Paisel, Rabbi Yehuda Machshel. Rabbi Meir says it's possible. Rabbi Yehuda says that it's kosher. Under 4 tvachim is kosher, according to the way Shmuel explains Rabbi Yehuda. Meider Rabbi Meir would agree that it's going to be kosher. And Rabbi Yehuda as well, because Rabbi Yehuda also holds that sometimes it's possible if it's mother's board. Let's say you've made your whole sukkah out of boards, your whole roof out of boards. So what you do is you remove every other one, and then you put schach down in between in those empty spaces. So you'll have 4 tvachim pasel, 4 tvachim kasher, 4 tvachim pasel, 4 tvachim kasher. The problem is the sukkah needs to be 7 by 7. The Gemara later on is going to explain that you started from both sides. That means on this side I started with pasel, kasher, pasel, kasher. This side I did pasel, kasher, pasel, kasher. That means they end off both being kosher in the center, which gives me 8 tvachim. And a kosher sukkah is 7 tvachim. So I have a share of a kosher sukkah. What about all the pasel on the side? Well, I have dalet amas. So the sukkah is, the Gemara later on is going to explain that the sukkah itself is 8 amas. The whole sukkah is 8 amas. Now 8 amas, each amma is 6 tvachim. So that's 48 tvachim. 20 tvachim on this side is pasel, 20 tvachim on this side is pasel, and I have 8 tvachim in the center that's kosher. And those 20 tvachim is 5 fours. 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, and then it ends up with the pasel, and then I have 2 kosher in the center. Yeah, there's a picture. If you look on page, if you have these blue gemaras, yeah, page Yud Ches. See that? Yeah, let me show you. What are we looking at? This one. This one right here.
Why isn't that a question of the like the
Passive eliminasi is if I would add walls. The schach was already kosher, but I didn't have walls. I add walls on it. Or the schach is only going to be kosher if I cut it from the ground. But over here, I put up the walls. I made the roof as well. And part of the roof is kosher. So
the roof wasn't kosher. It was only kosher by
so very good. So when you remove those boards, that's the us and putting on new schach, that's the us. That's the tasa, not the us.
That was my question.
Yeah, removing the boards itself is part of this task you're going to see on the next bit. Okay, you follow. The main point over there is to look at the ratio, at the difference in size between the middle and the sides. Okay. Meider Reb Yehuda, we said Meider Reb Meir. Reb Meir says that you know what, you can make a sukkah kosher even though there's 4 tvachim boards there by removing every other board. Right? They said, this guy says, can you tell me if my blinker is working? It is. That's the sukkah. Kosher, possible kosher. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda, agrees that if you put a board of 4 tvachim, it's going to be kosher. He doesn't hold that it's kosher. He holds that it's possible. But you still can't sleep under it. The sukkah is kosher, but you can't sleep under that board. In other words, what is Rabbi Yehuda being minded to? Rabbi Meir says that it's possible, and Rabbi Yehuda agrees. Rabbi Yehuda agrees to Reb Meir that you can't sleep under the board. But the sukkah is still kosher. Because why? Because it was on the side. Okay. Itmar. Itmar. We have a statement now from Amirai, independent of the Mishnah. It's not really independent, but it's not involving the machlokes directly. Havkan al tzidayim. Let's say I have boards that are a board that's 4 tvachim. It's a big problem. Reb Meir says it's not good. Rabbi Yehuda says, well, it depends. Machlokes Rav and Shmuel, what Rabbi Yehuda holds in that case. But let's say instead of putting the board down, I turn it like this, and I put a lot of boards like this. You know, when you play with blocks, you could play with them like this. You could turn them like this. So this guy built this sukkah, and he puts them like this. Puts them side like up.
How does he keep them standing?
The dominoes. So he stands them
It's
out.
like rafters that are not connected.
Right.
He just stands it up.
Yeah, what he would do is probably secure the side ones, and then you just fill it in the middle. So
No wiggle.
Havkan al Tzideim. Rav Huna Amar Psula. Rav Huna says it's possible. Rav Chisda v'Rabba bar Rav Huna Amar Ksheira. Rav Chisda and Rabba bar Rav Huna, sounds like the one that he's arguing with, the son, says that it's kosher. We had them. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Right. You turn them on the side. See that? Turned it on the side. So we had Rav Huna and Rav Chisda and Rabba bar Rav Huna arguing before. Actually, Rav Chisda and Rabba bar Rav Huna held that a double-decker sukkah, the top sukkah needs to be 4 tvachim to make the bottom one possible. Shmuel said that it needs to be 10 tvachim. Rav Huna says 1 tefa. Anyway, now we have Rav Huna again saying that if you turn it on the sides, it's going to be possible. And Rav Chisda and Rabba bar Rav Huna say that it turned on the side, boards that are 4 tvachim, it's going to be kosher. Rav Chisda and Rabba bar Rav Huna, remember, they were also strict about the stach, the decorations from the stach that were hanging below 4 tvachim. So to them, 4 tvachim made a difference. In that case, Rav Nachman had them sleep in a sukkah that had the decorations hanging below 4 tvachim, and they said they slept there. They weren't concerned about it. They said because we're puppet anyway, we don't even need a sukkah. So that was okay. So now, what happens now is interesting. Ikla Rav Nachman l'Sura. Rav Nachman shows up in Surah. All the Gabei Rav Chisda v'Rabba bar Rav Huna. Rav Chisda and Rabba bar Rav Huna go to ask him a question. I think Rav Nachman was mainly a Talmud of Shmuel. And Rav Huna and Rav Chisda and Rabba bar Rav Huna would be students of Rav. Yeah, Rav Chisda was actually related to Rav. He married the granddaughter of Rav, I believe. Rav Chanan bar Rava, I think, married the daughter of Rav, and then this was Rav Chisda married his daughter. So anyway, they go and they ask Rav Nachman, what's the din if you turn the boards on the side? Amar lahu psula, says that it's possible, which is not what they wanted to hear. He added in, look, boards of 4 tvachim are like using metal. It's really possible. There's 2 ways of looking at when something is possible rabbinically. Is it don't do it, or is it it's not good? So not just lechatchilim b'diavad. Do the boards become pasal schach, or I just can't put it down in a way of roofing? Like, to what extent did the rabbis just say you can't do it in the way of roofing, or they said you can't use those boards? So he says, no, you can't use those boards at all. They become like metal spits. Amalahu Rav Huna says, see, I told you so. I was right. Did I not tell you that he was going to say what I say? Amrulay, mi amrlan ma time of like kablinan minay. You didn't tell us the reason. Did you tell us the reason and we didn't accept it? Amar lahu. So Rav Huna's response to them, and we be some in a time of like Amar lahu. You never asked me for the reason. Very good question. What a funny conversation. Yeah. Taisvis over here mentions that based on this Gemara, we're going to definitely paskin according to Shmuel, because this whole Gemara doesn't fit with Rav. Because according to Rav, if there's a machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir, we're going to paskin like Rabbi Yehuda. According to Rav, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the boards are kosher. The whole shaila is only according to Shmuel that would say boards over 4 tvachim are everyone agrees is possible. Now you're asking, what if you turn them on their side? So it's only a question according to the way Shmuel learned the machlekes Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, and we'll follow Rabbi Yehuda.
But Shmuel's going beyond this. The board could say now it becomes a cave.
Right.
And that's why it's kosher.
Right. But according to Rav, Rabbi Yehuda would say it's even kosher to use l'hatchila. So the whole shaila now is only according to the way Shmuel learns Rabbi Yehuda. Now, usually when we have a machlekes Shmuel, Rav and Shmuel, we would go like Rav when it comes to isurim, not when it comes to monetary matter. When it comes to ritual law, we would follow Rav. But Tosfos says from here is a raya that in this case we're going to follow Shmuel. The fact that this was even a discussion. Okay, Lema Messiah, let's bring a support to the statement of Rav Nachman, which supported Rav Huna. Let's say you have a sukkah that can contain the head, the body, and the table. Even if it's a pirza. I'm sorry, I skipped a word, a very important word. If it doesn't contain, it makes a big difference. It doesn't contain the head, the body, and the table. Or if it's a pirza, or if there's a hole on the bottom of the fence that a goat can jump through the vasreish in one shot. That means that there's a 3 tvachim gap. Yeah, in this farm that I raised farm. So he had this goat. He had goats. So one of the goats was called Geometry. What was his name? Would jump through everything. Somehow they would build fences. Managed to make it out. Then they closed it off like perfectly, and they couldn't get out. It died like a week later. Anyway, that was its life, jumping through it. So, okay, so yeah, right. So if the goat can jump through, because 3 tvachim it can jump through, so it's going to be a problem. Or if you use the board that's 4 tvachim wide, look at what it says. Even if it's only 4, the board is 4 tvachim, but you're only using 3 tvachim of it inside the sukkah. How would that be possible? Probably because you stood it up on the side, stood it up sideways. So it's a 4x3. You stood it up sideways, and you see it's still possible.
But there could be a part going over from the edge.
Overlap the edge.
The Gemara says, what's the case? It's probably you stood it up. And you see, it's a problem. To Raya, to Rav Huna, to Raya, to Rav Nachman. The Gemara says, like, the Gemara and Dr. Stein and Linsky's. But really, you put it at the opening of the sukkah. The ayot plus legav, it has a lip. It has an overhang. The ayot plus legav apikchad lebar. There's 3 tvachim that are inside, 1 tefach that's outside. Dabale pesel yitzim in a sukkah. B'chol pesel yitzim in a sukkah nitin kasukah. What I'm doing is very good. I'm viewing. See that? It's sticking over. There's a lip. Now, if that would have been kosher schach, then I possibly, if there would have been one wall going, I could have sat under there, even if I didn't have the other wall. I could have sat under that, even though it's not in the sukkah proper. But now that it's basal schach, I can't sit under that area, even though it's only 3 tvachim. But I consider the whole thing as a sukkah, so I can't sit under that. I consider the board of 4 tvachim.
Sukkah's good.
Yeah. 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 It's a lot of questions on this Gemara. What are you telling me? 3 tvachim in? Is it only because it's 3 tvachim in? Let's say it would have been 1 tefach in and 3 tvachim out. Why is it only over the opening? We could have put it on the side, over the wall. I mean, the Gemara is telling me something that's like unclear. Okay, let's go further. It says Tikra. We're starting a new mission on the topic. That's what. Tikra shein aleh maziva. If you had a roof, but you didn't put plaster on the roof, so you really just have boards, which looks like a nice sukkah. You know, you're building the house, but you didn't put the tar and the tiles, whatever. You just did shingles. You just did. It still have just the roof, just the wood. So Rabbi Yehuda says there's a machlekes Beishami and Beisil how to deal with this. Beishami Aimer mefakfik. Mefakfik means you loosen it up, which could mean either you take out the nails that are holding it in, or you shake it. You do something to it, and then and then you have to take one out in between. Remember we said you take every other one out, on off. Beisil say you don't have to do so much. Mefakvik. Either you loosen it up, you shake the boards, or you take every other one out. You don't have to do both. One or the other. Reb Meir argues with Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda told us that it's a machlekes Beishami and Beisil how to deal with this. And Beisil says you just have to do one or the other. Reb Meir says you have to take one out. You don't shake it. Gemara says Bishlam and Beisil. We understand what Beisil is saying. Beisil says there's an issue of it's possible you built the house for a house, not for a sukkah. Then you walk inside, you say, hey, this could be my sukkah. But I built it for a house. So the sukkah needs to be built for a sukkah or for shade. It can't be built for a house. So there's a problem of tasav leimanasi. So what can you do? So imefakvik, if you shake it, you shake the boards, it's avid leimaisa. It's like you redid it. So it's good. You redid it. If you take every other one out, so avid leimaisa, then also you redid it. It's fine. You can do either one. It doesn't matter. Every other one out means that you fill it up with kosher schach in the middle. Okay. What's going on with Beis Shammai? What are they concerned about? Tasav leimanasi. So b'chadasagi, that's going to help whatever you do. If you shake it, or I don't have to do both. Imisham gezeres tikra, and if it's because of the gezeres tikra that we don't use boards at all, I don't care how much you shake them. They're not going to change. They're boards, and boards are pasul according to Beis Shammai. Let's say, so taking every other one out would have helped, and shaking it doesn't help. Shaking pasul schach doesn't make it kosher. So if they hold that it's pasul because a board is pasul, like we learned before, Reb Meir holds boards are pasul. The Gemara answers like this: La'ilam mishum gezeres tikra. You know what? Beis Shammai actually holds that there is a gezeres tikra. Boards are pasul. V'hachi kamri, and this is what they say. Afal pisha mefakfik. They're not telling you that you need to do both. They're telling you that if you did the wrong one, then you have to do the other one. Even if you shook it, it's only going to work if you take every other one out. It comes out like this. Beisil holds boards are kosher for schach. Problem is, you didn't put them up for schach, you put them up for a house. So put them up for schach. Or if you want, you could take every other one out and put on real schach. Beis Shammai says boards are pasul for schach. If you shake them, like Beisil is suggesting, it doesn't make it kosher. So what can you do? Even after you shake it, you still have to go and remove every other one. So according to Beis Shammai, you really only have one option. Why did it make it look like you have to do both? What it meant is, if you did the shaking first, that's not enough. You have to go. But once you took everyone out, you don't have to shake it. You have kosher schach. Okay.
So they had the word down.
Yeah, the word there.
If you already did that, then it's not
Yeah.
enough.
Mefakfik, then night lachas time.
Wait, how do you mefakfik prior to removing the boards underneath the slab? It sounds to me like you must remove the boards. before
No,
you
you're
put the
looking
slab on top.
Yeah, let's say what you did was you went up, you have all the boards there. You stand on the ladder, you shake all the boards. And Beishamai walks in.
With the slab on top.
No, there's no schach on top. It's just
Oh,
boards.
oh, oh.
Beishamai walks in and says, that's not going to work. You should puzzle schach. You have to take every other one
There
out.
was no slab.
Well, the boards are schach according to Beisilo, or according to Rabbi Yehuda. Beishamai is saying the boards are not kosher schach. They have to take every other one out. Like we explained before, you take every other one, you're left with 48. You have 48 tvachim, and the center is going to be kosher, right? Okay. The problem with explaining Beishamai like this is that you really have only one option, which is take every other board out. It says, Ihachi ema seifa. Let's go further in the Mishnah. You have to take every other board out, but shaking it doesn't help. Reb Meir hainu Beishamai. Reb Meir is saying the same thing as Beishamai. What are you telling me? A machlekes in the Mishnah. I have Rabbi Yehuda that says Beishamai, Beisilel, and then I have Reb Meir. You don't have a separate opinion there. Reb Meir is just basically Beishamai. It says Hachi Kamer. Leinechleku Beishamai Beisil b'davar. What he really wants to tell me, what Reb Meir is saying, is that there's no machlekes. Beisil and Beishamai both agree that you have to take every other board out. That's what Reb Meir is not asking like Beishamai. Reb Meir is saying that Beisil agrees with Beishamai in this case. So that is never a machlekes about this. Everyone agrees. Kamash Malan, my Kamash Malan. What is the chiddush of this Mishnah? The Reb Meir is like Zer's sticker. Rabbi less like Zer's sticker. Reb Meir holds that there's a problem with boards. They look like a house. Rabbi Yehuda says there's no problem with boards. But Fliga Bachad Zimna, they already argued about that in the last Mishnah. What are you telling me a second Mishnah that they're arguing about the same thing? The Tanan, Mesachim in the Sarm, the Rabbi Yehuda, Reb Meir Reiser. Reb Meir says you can't use boards. Rabbi Yehuda said you can. Same thing over here. Reb Chia Barabba, Rabbi Yechanan, Reb Chia Barabba says the name of Rabbi Yechanan. That's a major student of Rabbi Yechanan. 100 times at least in Shas. Reb Chia Barabba says the name of Rabbi Yechanan. Reisha ben Asar Meshufim Askin Meshum Gezeres Kelim Nagaba. You know what we were talking about before? We made it look like we're talking about boards, and boards has a problem of roofing. That's a problem in this Mishnah. In that Mishnah, we had boards that were sanded down. Now, sanded down boards are very similar to being utensils. If a board is a utensil, well, it's not a receptacle, but it's almost a utensil. It's like a cutting board, a tabletop. It has like some use. You sanded the boards down, ready for use. And there's a gezerah that maybe if you can use sanded boards, maybe you're going to use utensils also. Mishum gezeres kelim nagaba. Rabbi Yehuda, okay. Yeah, I don't want to get the other. Rabbi Yehuda, Amarav, Damar Sicha B'chitza. I'm just going to get to the Mishnah. So, according to Rabbi Yehuda, Amarav, there's a problem with this. So he said, we had it on, did we do it yesterday? No, we did it 2 days ago. He said, Sicha B'chitzim Zacharim Ksheira, B'nekevas Psula. L'gazar Zchair Matan Nekevas. Achinami, L'nigzer Nasarim, L'nigzer Nasarim Shuf Matan Kelim. We had an interesting case before. We had two types of arrows. We had arrows that had insert, a hole in them, and we had an arrow that you inserted inside the head, the arrowhead. One of them was a keli, one wasn't. We said one was kosher and one wasn't kosher for schach. Did we say that the ones that were kosher for schach are puzzled because it's a gzeira that you might use? The other one, we didn't say that. Which means that we don't make a gzeira with something, gzeira scalim, that it looks like vessels. If it's not a vessel, it's not a vessel. What are you telling me that sanded boards is a gzeira? You saw from there that Rabbi Yehuda Marav says that you don't make a gzeira. Those specific ones that were kosher, the ones that were puzzle were puzzle. Must be that the Mishnayos are both arguing both Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir are arguing in the Mishnah. Both of them are about, do we make a decree that the boards are similar to roofing? But not because of Kalim. The Gemara says, so v'fliga b'tati zimni lamali. So why do they have to argue twice? Two Mishnayos. The Gemara says no. Sefer Rabbi Yehuda he the Karmelei Rabbi Meir. The Sefer is Rabbi Yehuda saying to Rabbi Meir the following: Amaika sarta b'nesarim. Why do you say boards are pasul? Mishum gezeres tikra, because it looks like a house. Hai svara lebeishamai hu deislu beisil like gazri. What you're telling me is the opinion of Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel doesn't hold of that. And Rav Meir responds, there's actually no machlekes between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. In other words, this was a conversation. It's not a repeat of the machlekes. How does this discussion conclude? Rabbi Yehuda, in support of his opinion, says, Rav Meir, I know what you're saying, but that's a Beis Shammai opinion. And we don't follow Beis Shammai. Rabbi Yehuda is telling Rabbi Meir, Beis Hillel argues on Beis Shammai. And Rabbi Meir responds, no, there's no machlekes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Everyone agrees that it's possible. But this is a conversation. You can't ask, why are they having the same machlekes twice? It's not the same machlekes. It's the follow-up of the machlekes. According to Rav, that says that there's a machlekes between Rav Meir and Rabbi Yehuda if the boards are 4 tvachim. Rabbi Yehuda says it's kosher, which is Rabbi Yehuda's opinion here of Beis Hillel. And Rabbi Meir says that it's possible. The Rabbi Meir is like gezeir sticker. Rabbi less like gezeir sticker. El Shmuel damar b'shem b'emar ba machlekes havi yishmer ba divrei kol psula seifa b'may pligi. What's going on over here? Rabbi Yehuda also holds it's possible if it's 4 tvachim. And we said tikra, it's a roof. We're probably dealing with a normal roof. The Gemara gives me a very surprising answer. It'd be too late tikra kamiflagi. Marsavar batla bahachi and marsavar le batla. See, regularly we have a house and we have a sukkah. The person he built his house and he built his sukkah. We don't know if he's going to be able to differentiate between his house and his sukkah because both of them have the same roof. So he'll say, why do I have to sit in my sukkah? I'll say, the intention that he had when building his sukkah, does he recognize that made a difference? Because in the house, there's no difference. In the construction itself, there's no difference. The whole difference is the intent. So there's a gezerah. So you can't, that's why there would be a gezerah. And even Rabbi Yehuda agrees to that gezerah. But over here, he didn't build a house plus a sukkah. Over here, he built a house. And he knows that the house is not kosher. How do we know that he knows that? Because he went up on the ladder and he lifted every board up. So this is a guy that knows that there's an issue of a tikra. He knows the issues. Do we say that he also gets the gezerah? Rabbi Yehuda says usually we have a gezerah tikra, but that's when we have a house and we have a sukkah. But over here we only have a house, and the person already demonstrated that he's not someone that is confused between houses and sukkah because he already lifted up all his boards. So maybe on him there's no gezerah. It would be tuli tikra once he nullifies the roof. So maybe over there Rabbi Yehuda doesn't make the gezerah. Okay, we'll believe it over here. Have a good day.